Okay, I was driving and I had another thought. So it's kind of like a part two to my previous video. Um, if you missed the first video I shared an experience that I had with my ex-husband, my children's father, where he stated that he is not a present parent because he wants me to feel what it's like to be a single mother. And so something that I want to come back on and share is the idea that being a single mother is synonymous with struggle. It has the connotation of something negative in society. Just how he phrased it alone is evidence of that it's something to steer clear of, something to avoid. Right? I want her to feel what it's like to be a single mother. Single mothers are synonymous with struggling, and it's equivalent to challenge because it's usually associated with being unsupported in multiple areas of your life. And I remember years ago when I first started parenting alone that I was like working over, I was doing a lot and I was trying to overcompensate because I wanted my children to be like great people, because I knew that there's a stigma attached to being a single mother that stretches farther than just me, but to my children. And what I mean by that is this: when a child is successful, they say the storyline is, oh, so and so became a president, they became a lawyer, they became a doctor, they were successful in some way despite being raised in a single parent household, raised by a single mother. Then if a child is unsuccessful, if a child is considered a, what is the word? If they are problematic in society, then it is also said, oh, well, he was raised or she was raised by a single mother, as to say she is the reason why. Sorry, I was trying to drive at the same time. I kind of got out of focus. But they say that she is the cause of his demise, or the cause of society's problem with this said child, is because she didn't do her job successfully. That is the reason why this child is the way he or she is. And it's weird to also say when they are unsuccessful, when they are successful, that they beat the odds. Despite being raised by a single mother, they made it happen. They made it out. Because single motherhood is like a hell for, or considered to be a hell for children. But no one still says, oh, they were successful despite having an absent father, or he is this way or she is this way because he didn't have a father present. That's very rarely the conversation, if at all, that his father was absent or her father was absent. That's why he is the way she is the way she is. But it's always the, oh, it was a single mother thing. I remember having a conversation with someone, and he praises himself, or prides himself on being an active, present father for his son. At the time, his son was in high school, and he's playing basketball, and he kind of almost coined himself as being the basketball team dad to all the kids. Like, I love all of them like they're my own children. I've watched them grow up on these teams with my son, and I know them very well, blah, blah, blah. Anywho, he was telling a story about a particular teammate of his son, and he made a comment about this one kid because of something about his attitude, and I forgot the particular incident because it's been some years now, but his kind of offhand comment was, yeah, you can tell he was raised by a single mother. Imagine talking to a single mother and saying something to that effect. And I'll go a step further. Imagine being someone who was raised by a single mother saying that this particular man was raised by a single mother. And he was not a criminal. He was not a unsuccessful person. And yet he used being raised by a single mother as one of the factors involved in why this child was behaving the way he was behaving. It was wild. And of course I had to stop right there in the story to address that comment. But I say all that to say, at large, that title of a single mother is considered to be something to be avoided. It's considered to be a punishment. It's considered to be a struggle. It's considered to be a challenge. And oftentimes it can be. But it's because no one else takes responsibility for the children but the mother. It's easier to pin everything on the mother than to look at the larger picture and discuss how society as a whole has failed this child, or has failed to support this child, or who has failed to support this mother. And going back to my previous post or my previous video about, the rights of men versus the responsibilities of women, it's easier to give all the responsibility to the mother / woman than to take some accountability or responsibility as a community, as a society, to say, I'll help. It's easier to do that than to say, it's easier to cast judgment and criticism than to say, hey, I can help you or help women with this. I want to, alleviate this problem. It's easier to say, that's not my problem. It's easier to say, you should have chose better. It's easier to say, well, you knew who you was getting in bed with when you did it, and you did it anyway. It's easier to cast a long-term punishment on someone than to actually create a solution to the problem, because it is not a isolated incident. It is a considerable national problem that we have, a societal problem that we have that no one really talks enough about. But it's easier to kind of just, wrap it up in a nice little package in a bow by saying it's the single mother's fault, and that is your problem, and you have to, do what you can about that yourself, than to say, how do we fix this problem? So yeah, just want to get on and talk about that part of it, the connotation of the term single mother, and how, and why it's considered a scarlet letter versus a badge of honor. No one, I don't say no one, but majority of single mothers don't choose to be single mothers. A lot of the times that is the responsibility that they're given, because the fathers have rights to not have responsibilities. And so it's easier to have them, to give women 100% of the responsibility than to take some of that burden from them, and let them suffer, sometimes in silence or out loud, because there are women who do a lot of asking for help and asking for support and still not getting it, and getting told, well, that's who you chose, should have chose better. Or telling them things like, figure it out on your own. You should have thought about that before you had a child with this man, type of thing, versus, how can I support you? How can I help you? And just letting it be their own problem to figure out, along with all the other things they manage as a single parent, single mother. So yeah, leave your comments below. I would love to hear what you have to say on this topic. Let's talk.